Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my December wrap up. This time I'm prepared with my reading stats. So I read 17 books total in December. 10 of them were romance, 2 were young adult. They're romance, but young adult ones. 3 fantasies and 2 mysteries. My average rating was 3.3, and I read a total of 6,349 pages. So, a better reading month than November was. So the first book that I read is The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling. This is part of the XX series. I think it's called Graves Glen, the series. But this one follows the third Penhallow brother, Bowen, and Tamsin, who I don't know if she's introduced in the XX or the Kiss Curse, but one of those. And Bowen is a part of a powerful witch family, and Tamsin is not a witch. She's just a human, but she collects and sells magical items. So Bowen is in need of someone to find magical items for him. So he hires her, and then they have there's like a year that span, like a year goes by in this, but it's kind of doesn't feel like time goes by. Both end up at a Yuletide wedding, and they both had their own agendas there. Neither of them knew that they were going to be there. Tamsin's looking for a very powerful and rare, expensive, magical jewel, and I think it's like a brooch, and he's there for his friend, and they team up together to find this magical item. So while they're there, they get transported back to the 1950s, and they have to figure out a way to get back before a certain time. I don't know how much time has to go by before they would be stuck there. But I feel like in general, just the stakes were very low, and I don't know. I feel like I didn't really care like what happened to them, and there wasn't much romance in it. Like, it just comes out of nowhere at the end, where the main character's like, "Oh, by the way, I love you," and I'm like, "Where did that come from?" Like, there have been no signs at all. So it wasn't my favorite in the series, but I gave it a 3-star. Then I read a Christmas novella on my Kindle, and it was called My December Darling by Lauren Asher. This takes place in Lake Wisteria, which is part of her Lakefront Billionaires series. And this follows Catalina, who is a traveling nurse, coming home to Lake Wisteria to help her sister plan the rest of her wedding. And she has to deal with / work with the best man who she hates. I don't remember the reason why she hates him, but she does. And he is a doctor at the Lake Wisteria hospital that she's working at right now. And they kind of like form like a good friendship, like working wise, and obviously having to be the maid of honor and the best man at this wedding. And Luke, the male main character, I don't know if I said his name yet, he's basically trying to prove to her that like there's nothing wrong with him, and like she's trying not to get attached in Lake Wisteria because she wants to travel and stay like that, so she tells herself she doesn't have time for romance. So that's why she kind of doesn't give him the time of day, but he's trying to prove to her that, things can be good if she stayed. I enjoyed it. It's, for a novella, it's pretty long. It's like 250 something pages. That's why like I was eating it up as I was reading it, because you get to connect to the characters a bit more than you do in a typical novella. They're like less than 100 pages. It's really hard to like care about the characters and like what they're going through, but I feel like you get enough of it in this one, and like enough of them and their personality to care. And I gave this one 4 stars. And then I listened to Cruel Winter with You on audio by Ali Hazelwood. This is part of like the Amazon collection that they did for Christmas. They also do a Valentine's Day one. but this one was by Ali Hazelwood, and basically about a brother's best friend, and they get stuck in a snowstorm together. Really fun. I think it's like, it was like listening to it, it was like less than 2 hours, and it might be like less than 100 pages. But this one too was actually really surprising to me for a novella, because I feel like you get enough of a backstory for both of the characters that you're like, okay, like I care about this romance and like what happened between them. Um, so, and that one I did give 3 stars just because it was a shorter novella. Then I listened to half of it and then read the rest of it physically. The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This is a romance mystery, rivals to lovers, which I have never read a romance mystery before, so that's why I was like super intrigued by this one. But it's basically about two, like, the female main character is a cozy mystery writer, and the male main character, who she hates, is a big like thriller writer. So they kind of write in a similar genre, but obviously they're two different genres. One's a bit more intense than the other. And they both accept this cryptic invitation to a reclusive fan, like in a castle. I don't remember if it's in like England or something. An English estate of a reclusive fan. It's a Christmas house party, and when they get there, they realize that it's like this really famous, popular mystery writer that the female main character loves, and there's a storm that happens, a big snowstorm, and the fan, or the popular writer, goes missing. It's like a whodunit situation. What happened to her? The female main character's like, is this a test? Like, is she testing us? And she has to team up with her enemy to find out what happened. And I feel like it's very interesting. In the beginning, like the little blurb, it says Knives Out. It's compared to Knives Out, which I haven't seen that movie, but I have heard that a lot of people compare it to Knives Out. So if you like that type of mystery with a little bit of romance, then you'll enjoy that one. Next, I read A Season for Chances by Jenny Bayless. This I read in my Bookmas video reading holiday books for a week, so I won't go into too much detail because I talked a lot about this one because I had a lot to say. First off, it's not a romance. It's just like a cozy winter book. That's it. Don't go into it thinking it's a romance. That was my mistake because I was told that there's a lot of spice in it, and there's zero spice. Not that I wanted the spice, but I think because I was told that, I was under the impression that there was going to be romance in here, and there was not. It was like crumbs of romance. It was mainly just about the main character and this little town that seaside town that she's staying in during the winter. So if you want a good cozy winter read, I think you would enjoy this one, but don't expect romance. If you want to hear my full thoughts on this one, I'll link that video down below, but I ended up giving it 2 stars. Also in that video, I read Spectacular, which is a Caraval holiday novella, where basically they're celebrating their equivalent to Christmas. It's called The Great Holiday, I think. But it has like cool illustrations in it. Let me find one. Like, it's got the cool illustrations in it. Basically, it's fun just to see like your favorite characters again, like Donatella, Legend, Scarlett, and Julian, like what they're doing for the holiday season. And I give that one 3 stars. Just because not much happens. It's just like a little fun extra bit if you love Caraval to read. And I read Lightlark. And this is a fantasy series. Honestly, I read this when I was sick at the beginning of the month of December. So I don't really remember too much. But I did enjoy it. I felt like, honestly, not much happened. I feel like it's kind of long for what actually went down in here, but it's basically about this island of Lightlark. Only appears every 100 years for only 100 days for the rulers of the six realms, I think, have to fight to break their curses in like deadly games. So Isla is a ruler of her realm, and I don't really remember much else. I did like it about the second book to continue it, but there's kind of like a love triangle going on, so I don't really know like which way it's going to go. I do want to continue to find out what happens with that, but I feel like nothing really like high stake happened, if you know what I mean. I ended up giving it a 3.5. Then I read A Winter Wish by Emily Stone. This was her newest release for the holidays, and this one wasn't too Christmassy. That's why it's a good, I think, just overall holiday season book. But this one is about the main character Lexi, who her father has passed away and she's not very close with him. Like, he had like a second family. They didn't like keep in touch really. And she finds out that he left her half of his company and the other half goes to the guy that he was working with. So she's kind of like upset that he left her this company that she wants nothing to do with. It's basically just like a travel agency. And the main like stipulation, like, to be able to inherit the money or like to sell the company if she wants to, she has to work there for at least a year. And her and the guy are neither of them are happy about it. So she decides, okay, we'll do it, but you can still run it. I won't interfere. I'll just stay back here and let you do your thing, and then in a year we can sell it. And then I think she realizes throughout the story that she's actually really good at this aspect, and you kind of learn about like what happened, like what went down in her relationship with her father. And she has an estranged half sister that she gets closer to. Yeah, I would say like her books have like half romance, half women's fiction, which I enjoy. I think they have like a good balance in that. I give this one 4 stars. Then I continued the Boys Atonement series with Saving Six. I love this series so much, and I didn't know that I would love Joey Lynch this much. Well, I knew it, but I didn't think that I would love him as much as Johnny, because Johnny's amazing. But then you read this one and you're like, oh, okay. But this one basically takes place 5-6 years before Binding 13 takes place, and then goes up until like right before Binding 13 starts. So you get Joey and Aoife's backstory and like how they met and like what they went through while they were in school. I reread Binding 13 and Keeping 13 in December, but I didn't count them in my wrap-up just because I kind of more like skimmed them because I wanted to just annotate some of my favorite quotes because I read them on my Kindle first. So I do want to reread this one and Redeeming Six so I can annotate them, especially Redeeming Six, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. But I can't say too much because I feel like it's in the middle of a series, and even though it starts over with like new characters' point of views, I feel like there's not much you can say without giving away plot points. So this one just follows Shannon's brother Joey, and his love interest Aoife, and Aoife's a queen. Love her, she's iconic. And I gave that one a 4.5. Then I read The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson. I got this in Book of the Month last year, I think, and it's a Nutcracker retelling, I guess, which I thought was going to be really interesting. I love Nutcracker retellings, so I thought I would love this, and I was enjoying it for like the first 100 pages, I would say. I was very intrigued, but then it kind of just felt like I was reading, honestly, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, to be honest, because obviously it's about 2 twins. Clara is the good one, and basically they were cursed. Drosselmeyer came in and said, Clara's the light one, this one is the dark one. I can't remember her name. Natasha. And she's gonna be the dark one, so she's kind of overlooked her entire life, and no one likes her. She's ugly compared to Clara and all that stuff. And then when Clara's given a nutcracker for Christmas and their birthday, this nutcracker takes them to a different land, and there's an evil queen and who's like using them for her own gain. It's pretty much The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, in my opinion. You're Natasha's point of view for the entire book, and she's kind of a terrible person. I mean, like, maybe being raised the way she was, hated by everyone, and like in the shadow of her sister, obviously made her that way, but I don't know. I feel like her actions were just annoying, and by the time I got to the end, I was like, thank God this is over, because it took too long to get to the end. And I gave that one 2 stars. Then we get to Redeeming Six. Look how big this book is. But this one takes place from the beginning of Binding 13 to after Keeping 13, like all the way to the end of that one, and then a little bit past it. So this one, again, I can't say too much, but I will tell you that this one, like, put me through the ringer. Obviously, if you've read the series, you know, like, how heartbreaking both of the stories are, like Joey's story and Shannon's. I feel like Joey's is more heartbreaking because of what he goes through and his troubles. But I love him, and I can't wait to reread it so I can annotate it. But I gave this one 5 stars. And then I read P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. This one is about 2 exes who have to endure each other for some traveling. Her brother and his best friend passed away, and he left them a note to spread his ashes over the 8 states that he hasn't gone to yet. I mean, and he wanted them to go together to spread, like, his ashes in each place. So his ashes are divided into 8. She hates him, obviously. It's in the title. I don't think he hates her, but there's something that happened in their past that you understand why she hates him. But you don't get his side of the story until later in the book. But this one was like, had some amazing funny moments, but also got so deep at the same time, and I loved it. It talks about grief a lot. Just a warning. But I really loved their romance, and even though, like, their issue was kind of a miscommunication, and they were both in the wrong, and by in the wrong, I mean, like, they just didn't communicate. They could have saved each other years of heartbreak. But I really loved it. It says I gave it 5 stars on here. I might have rounded it up on Goodreads, because I think I gave it like a 4.5 or a 4.75. I would definitely reread it, and I think maybe upon a reread, I would end up giving it 5 stars, but it was amazing. I ended up tabbing quite a lot in it, so I do definitely recommend that one. Then I read on my Kindle. I've been loving reading on my Kindle lately. I don't know what it is, but, like, I can't stop. I read The Right Move by Liz Tumford. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. But this is the second book in the Windy City series, and this one, I had tried to read the first book in the series, like, months and months ago, called called Mile High, and I think I got like 5 chapters in, and I was just not into the characters, especially the mailman character. I think his name is Xander's. Well, I don't think. Especially the mailman character, Xander's, he was very cocky, and I just did not like his personality, but I didn't give him a full chance, so that might be my problem. But I was like, I don't want to read this. But so then, like, fast forward to December, I had been wanting to read Play Along by her, which is the 4th book in the series, because Sarah Corley loves that book, and she also DNF'd the first book, Mile High, but then continued the rest of the series and loved the rest of them, especially Play Along. It's one of her 5-star books. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to just continue the series, give the rest of the series a chance. And I'm so glad I did, because let me tell you, I ate this book up. It's about the main character Stevie from the first book, her best friend Indy, and her twin brother. Are they twins? Or just her brother? I don't know if they're twins or not. I can't remember. Her brother, who is the captain of the Chicago basketball team in this world. And she needs a roommate because she was dumped by her. I don't know if she was engaged or just like had a really long boyfriend. I can't remember. So he ends up letting her stay with him in his apartment, and he doesn't want her there, of course. And he's very like reserved and quiet, and she is a social butterfly. So she kind of like brings him out of his shell, and also there's a little bit of fake dating in here because his like coach or team manager, I don't know what it's called, is like, he's like, I need to prove to him that like I have a life outside of basketball. So he says that he's dating Indy, and they fake date basically. And I ate it up. I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars. These books are kind of spicy, but they both have like really good like emotional depth to them, and I love them. And are also pretty funny. So I really enjoyed that one, and I'm glad that I continued the series. Then I read A Very Merry Bromance by Lisa K. Adams. I wanted to get in one more book before Christmas was over, so I read this one. I actually read it on my Kindle, but this is the 5th book in the Bromance book club series. I haven't read the other ones, but you don't have to read them in order, I don't think. It's like they're basically standalone books. But this one's about a country singer, Colton Wheeler, who has like a one night thing with Gretchen Winthrop, and she is like her family is like owned like this whiskey company, whatever. And she doesn't want to date him for her own reasons, but he's like been in love with her ever since that day. Her family wants him to be the face of their new whiskey campaign. He's like, I'll agree to it if you let me take you out on some dates. So basically that happens, and he's trying to show her, she kind of grew up in like a cold family, obviously, and she has problems with her parents and her brother's taking over the company. And yeah, I think it was a good read. I don't think it was very Christmassy at all. It was like slightly there, like I kind of forgot honestly that it was a Christmas book. So I feel like you could read it anytime, or just like in general in the holidays, during the holiday season. But I ended up giving it 3 stars. Then I read the 3rd book in the Windy City series, and this one's called Caught Up. This one is about Kai Rhodes, who is the pitcher for Chicago's MLB team, and he has a son. I think he's like 1-ish, and he's a single parent. He needs a nanny for their upcoming season, and the coach's daughter ends up doing it because she's like a very well-known baker in like the baking world, and she's kind of having a hard time creating new recipes. She just needs a break, so she takes a summer off and nannies for Kai. So Miller helps him kind of return back to who he was, and allow other people to come into his life and that sort of thing. I ate this one up too. I think I liked it more than the last one. They just keep getting better. And I gave this one 4 stars. Then I read the 3rd book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I listened to most of it on audio, just because I was having a hard time getting into it at the beginning. But this one I can't say too much again about because it's a continuation of a series. But after listening to it, I was like, why was I hating on it the first 10 chapters? Because I actually did really enjoy it. It kind of makes me want to watch the series on Netflix again. And I actually liked listening to it on audio because when you listen to her, like the podcast element in here, Pip's podcast, it sounds like you're actually listening to a podcast, and I love that. So I kind of want to maybe listen to the other series, the first half of the series on audio, because then you could hear more podcast elements. But I thought it was really good. Give it 4 stars. A good ending, I would say, to the series. And then I just read the novella to it, Killjoy. This takes place a year, or like during the summer, like right before the school year, her senior year starts, before she knows what she wants her senior project to be. And so basically she's at like a murder mystery party, a 1920s murder mystery party with her friends, and this is when she realizes that she might be good at solving murder cases or just mysteries in general. So just a fun, quick little novella. Those are all the books that I read in December. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!